The stage is set. The bright lights are on. Welcome along to obviously Fight Talk episode 78. I'm Noel O'Keefe and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Robert Palin.
How are you?
I'm very well, Robert.
Me too.
The whole country is complaining today about being tired.
Yeah. For the last couple of days. Yeah.
So, this is anyone, if you're obviously listening to this on American shores or where...
Oh, how easy they have it.
Easy. But if you're listening to us in the UK or Ireland, you were in the same boat as us on Saturday night, Sunday morning. But as MMA fans, I think we're almost acclimatised to this.
Yeah, we are, yeah.
We're used
normal.
to it.
But isn't there something about it, I think? I think if it was on normal time, it's great and all. But there's something about staying up late at night. It just gives you that, I don't know. It's just
I agree. When it's a European card, it's
it?
weird watching MMA, like eating your dinner or something.
Like, this is
wrong. I mean? But that's all. Facebook was just full of what time's the fight. That was the number one status on Facebook from about 6 o'clock on.
Yeah, and then it was quickly illegal stream shares.
Yeah. Up to 3 million people watched that.
I've heard that, yeah. You didn't, did you?
No, I paid.
So did I.
Yeah, I paid.
Suckers!
Yeah, suckers, yeah. But yeah, so I went from what time's the fight, any streams, can't stay awake, what time are they coming out at? And that's how it went. But hey, one thing I did notice, Rob, before we get into everything as well, was I'm sure people who are watching on an illegal stream or a real stream, you may have noticed that every fight or press conference that there was an eerie presence. And they were Corona ring girls. These girls, wow, do they smile. This is the post presser now after. But it got me thinking, a few people were saying the two girls are like, you know when you're playing like a video game and you're waiting to select a character and they're just sitting there going.
Yeah.
But one that my missus, I have to say, pointed out to me. Did you ever see The Shining?
I did see The Shining.
You know the two twins?
Yeah.
Boom. They sort of reminded me of that.
In a way, yeah, I get you.
Creepily, eerily, just hanging around over your shoulder. Was it the Devontae Davis fight? Was it the
Devontae
Davis fight where he was walking around and they were just shuttling after him?
Yeah, they shuffled.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, they're there to promote, what was it? Corona, was it?
They're there to promote. How do you not know that after? Number one, I said the Corona girls. And number two,
to be honest, I wasn't listening to that. I was paying attention to make sure I could change the picture. But obviously, they're there to promote that, so they have to stay in shot. But it was just kind of weird because every time the camera slightly moved, it was like...
Yeah, it was great. Brilliant. A priceless thing that's just happened. Rob never comments this. Where we film, you can't see it, but on the outsides of us here is glass. So if anyone happens to be walking by the studio here, they can see what's happening. So they're now looking at me and Rob talking to microphones with two twins, and somebody just walked by and you could see in their mouth say, "What the fuck?" So yeah, that was interesting.
We didn't think that one through.
But here we go. Let's get the show on the road, I suppose. Big shout out, as always, to 5-Star Ireland, the Fighter's Choice. Everything you need under two roofs, even though I wrote one roof there. And again, if you want to ever check out fights, like the local fights on the Irish scene here, go on to 5-Star Media. Jesus. 9 times out of 10, they've been there, they've covered it, so there'll be fight footage as well. And check them out, give them a like and subscribe along with us. MMAmix.com, they're obviously good because they're with, obviously, Fight Talk. And feelsupreme.co.uk for all your fighter recovery needs with CBD oils and all your organic products. Check them out and save 10% by using the promo code Fight Talk when you're making the purchase. They look after the Chinese, they've won medals. They look after the normal Joe soap, they might have won medals. They might have been karaoke kings or, you know... Yeah. CBD oil helps. Packed show, obviously this week we're going to cover it again. We are an MMA podcast and we're nearly getting to MMA stuff, but we are going to look back at the big event on Saturday night, Sunday morning, depending again where you were, where Floyd Money Mayweather got a TKO victory over the notorious Conor McGregor in the 10th round. So we'll be talking, I'm delighted to say, we're not going to be talking to your average Joes. We are going to be talking to former world champion, an Irish legend, a boxing legend. We're going to be joined again by the pocket rocket Wayne McCullough. We'll then be joined by, we're not saying he's the best, we're just not saying there's anybody better than him. Mr. Brendan Dorman will be back with us. We're going to bring back, obviously, Fight Talk Quick-Fire news as well this week. It's something which has been a while. I tell you, it was hard to find news, wasn't it? MMA related.
It was, yeah.
We're then going to be joined by Darren Russell as well from MMA Latest, along with Daniel Movahedi, and we're going to be talking. Darren was over at the fights. in Vegas. But we're also going to be talking about the big news that broke this week with Jon Jones. We're going to delve into that and a little bit about PDs, USADA. We're just going to go with the flow, as they say. But let's get it started with our quick-fire news, Rob. So 2 minutes on the clock, as it's just the two of us. So again, we haven't done this in such a while. We may as well explain the idea. Won't say the rules because we very seldomly stick to them. 2 minutes on the clock. I read what the topic is. We've got 2 minutes to discuss it. When the buzzer goes, it's the next topic. So, Georges St. Pierre is a return date for the UFC competition. The Canadian will take on the reigning middleweight champion and Brit in Michael Bisping in the main event of UFC 217 at Madison Square Garden on November the 4th. GSP's last appearance in the octagon was a split decision victory over Johnny Hendricks at UFC 167. That was in November 2013. So, almost 4 years since we've seen GSP. What do we think of the fight and what's your initial thoughts on it?
We had our initial thoughts on it when it was first announced, so I suppose you can go back onto that one. I like the fight in certain ways. It's weird in certain ways because Georges St. Pierre, welterweight champion, never made the move to middleweight, and now all of a sudden making his return to the UFC, you'd assume that welterweight is the place to go. It's not. He's gone to middleweight, so it's a little bit weird. Dana White, over the past couple of months has been hot and cold on the fight, saying it's going to happen, it's not going to happen, the ship has sailed. The day later, the ship hadn't sailed. So it's a bit of a weird one, a weird build-up. But, if the fight does happen, I will be excited for it. GSP coming back for a title shot. Even at middleweight, I don't really disagree with it too much. He's a huge star. He didn't lose his title. People have to remember that. It was a very close fight, but he didn't lose it. Weird fight in sorts, but I'm looking forward to when it does happen. It's an interesting style matchup. Bisping traditionally does well against wrestlers, so there is that. What
we covered the last time when we spoke about this as well, Rob, was we sort of said it doesn't matter if GSP wanted to come back and fight Cyborg or take on Ronda Rousey. You're not going to you're not going to dispute it. GSP, absolute legend of mixed martial arts. You feel a little bit for Whittaker here. You know what I mean? He's next in line for the shot. You know what I mean? And that's put on hold. So again, new ownership, it's gone very super fightish again. Like even now there's talk that the next fight for Conor is going to be Nate. We can get into that a little bit more later on. But it's just interesting. Is it going to be a good fight? Yes. Is it the right matchup for both guys? Probably yes, I think. I think it's a good one for GSP. He's getting for Michael Bisping. He's getting to fight another legend.
Yeah, it's the fight he wanted. Yeah, and he was promised it. So it'd be a shame for him not to get that because it's a money fight. And on Whittaker, before we end, and it's just going to end now. Before Whittaker, it's it's unfortunate for him, but he is out with an injury. By the time this fight happens, maybe that's when he wants to fight. And if GSP does win, that's a money fight for Robert Whittaker at such a young age. I'm sure he'd be happy with that. So.
While on the MMA Hour, our sister podcast, if you're not too aware of what it is, just type it in MMA Hour into YouTube and you'll probably find it off that. Kevin Lee had stated that his upcoming bout with Tony Ferguson is the real UFC lightweight title bout. The belt is held by Conor McGregor after defeating Eddie Alvarez, but Conor took time off for the birth of his son and then this weekend fought Floyd Mayweather. I do have a big long quote. I'm not going to go into it. He basically just said this is the real one. Between us, we have 20 plus fights at lightweight. Conor only has one. This is for the real title. What do we think? Is it just typical promotion of the fight that he's doing that? Or because he also said if Conor comes back, it's an easy fight for him.
Yeah, I've seen that. And who knows? It's I like Kevin Lee. I think he's very, very good. I do think if Conor comes back and fights Nate, I think you have a legitimate reason if you're Kevin Lee or even Tony Ferguson to say that this is for the legit title. The title wouldn't have been defended for quite a bit, and then Conor would have a fight with Nate Diaz. Unless they do Nate and Conor for the title, who knows?
Yeah, that's the
thing.
They
can both fight at lightweight. Yeah. So if it would make sense in ways.
Just what they're saying, if they did do that, like when was Nate's last fight at lightweight? And again, he's skipping a big queue. And I know if it doesn't,
it's a weird. What would the lightweight division want? Would they want Nate to compete for the title or Conor to go off with the title and hold up the division? It's a weird one. It's I'd say it's a different answer for different people, but I don't. It's typical promotion for a fight, really.
There's going to be a bit of bad blood in this fight as well because he was also saying as well that he looked up to to Ferguson. They went to the same college and stuff, and basically Ferguson came up with him at the summer presser or something.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of bad blood there as well. But it's a good fight in a way. The lightweight division is going through what the featherweight division went through for a little while. So yeah, I'm not too sure. His last fight at lightweight was Michael Johnson.
Aside from all that, because that at the end of the day, that is promotion for the fight, and you're getting an interim title fight. Of course, you're going to say this is the real title. Not many people wouldn't.
Yeah.
But the fight itself is an excellent fight.
Great
It's
fight.
a really, really good fight.
Yeah.
Really good style matchup. Tony Ferguson has been looking really good. He's had a couple of shaky moments against the likes of Lando Venade. Supposed to fight Khabib. Don't know what's happened with Khabib. Apparently he's training.
Yeah.
But it's a good fight.
No, it is 100%. I don't think you'll get any arguments there. Joe Lozon and Clay Guida has been agreed and will take place at UFC Fight Night 120 in Norfolk.
Norfolk, yeah.
Yeah. This fight and its competitors share 13 Fight of the Night awards between them. Never mind the submission and KO of the night awards. Do we like the matchup? Two veterans.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be a fun fight, isn't it?
That is a great fight. That's
a wild, fun fight.
A wild, fun fight, and it's a no-brainer. It's two guys. It's Joe Lozon and Clay Guida aren't the youngest men in the UFC's lightweight division, but the two most exciting fighters.
As to the awards.
As per the awards. Clay Guida went through that phase, and he's kind of made up for it in his last couple of fights, but he went through that phase where he wasn't that exciting. But I think the likes of Joe Lozon is going to bring out the best in Clay Guida. He can go in there and wrestle him. But if he does put Joe Lozon on his back, Joe Lozon is no joke off his back.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it just plays into being a really, really good fight. And these haven't fought before. Is that right?
What I think is mad here is, in a way, this fight, for Joe Lozon, he could almost approach it the same way as Diego Sanchez, because Clay Guida can be absolutely insanely wild.
Yeah.
He has obviously the wrestling there as well. But I think this is a fun fight. We all know, anyone who listens to this show know I'm a big Lozon fan.
Yeah.
And I just think this is good fights need good styles to be matched, and I do think the two of these will make a gentleman's agreement out the back to say, yeah, let's get on. They want to have good fights coming to the stage where they are in their career. They want to have good fights. They want to get in there and showcase their skills. I don't think it's going to be a dull affair. Watch, this will turn out to be the worst fight of 2017. But it's got all the setup. They're all there. The amount of Fight of the Night awards that both of these have and share between them. It's an exciting fight.
I just think it's crazy that they haven't fought before. Just considering that they've been in the UFC for a long time, they've fought everybody in that division, apart from maybe some of the very, very top guys, because they kind of, let's say, gatekeepers. I'd say that's the right term for both of them. But I'm just very, very surprised they haven't fought before, and it's something that I never thought of. It's a no-brainer of a matchup. I love it. I think it's going to be great.
Well, I think with both of these, the way they sort of went, one was on the up and one was on the down, and then one was on the up and one was on the down. So the fight never made actual sense at that time.
Yeah.
7 years ago to today being Monday, at UFC 118, we had James Toney step into the octagon against Randy Couture. A little fitting as to the week that's in it this week. The former boxing heavyweight champion was taken down within the opening seconds by Couture and mounted. Couture softened Toney up and smothered him before attempting a head and arm triangle. Toney verbally tapped, or so Couture said, if you remember that at the time, but the fight didn't end there. Only a few seconds more was needed by Couture as he repositioned and tied up the submission, forcing the boxer to verbally tap again at 3 minutes and 17 seconds into the opening round. I'm only bringing that up because I always at you about let's do it this day, whatever part of the, and I just thought it was quite ironic that was 7 years ago with the events that took place.
Let's do it.
The event that took place at the weekend, obviously, this was one of the first times someone as decorated as James Toney came across the MMA world. And I remember watching the fight. It was really, really fucking weird when you were watching it. The crowd started chanting, UFC!
I know.
UFC!
Yeah,
yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Proper weird. It'd be like if at the boxing last night they start going, boxing! Boxing! But, Couture made it look easy. He literally took him down, I think, within 7-8 seconds or something. A little single ankle pick, got it down, dominated. You could tell Toney didn't know how to defend the head and arm triangle, and it was masterful. Like, again, this is something that I'm sure we'll talk about later in the show when we're talking Floyd and Conor. But Randy Couture showed exactly what an MMA fighter can do. It starts on the feet, but they have the tools to get it to the ground without engaging. Like if Randy Couture was to stand and bang with James Toney, you'd see Ray Mercer against Tim Sylvia all over again. You know what I mean? It's to stand and strike with a boxer of that elite class.
Depending on how you do it, obviously. Yeah,
that's
stand on the outside leg kick him. Then fair enough.
That's going to happen.
You don't do that.
If you engage in a boxing fight, it doesn't matter if you're wearing small gloves and in a cage or a boxing ring. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. But so it was just. I liked it. We don't have to talk much longer about it. I just thought it was quite ironic's not the right thing. Ian has always given out saying that's ironic, and he's like, that doesn't mean ironic. But I just thought it was interesting.
It's a coincidence.
A coincidence is the right way of looking at that. That it was 7 years. Snoop Dogg, Rob.
He's in the news.
Snoop Doggy Dogg. Snoop Dogg is in hot water after
the whitest thing ever.
He's basically slated Conor McGregor. Well, he's made some fairness with Floyd, right? But he's on an Instagram post. We were thinking about playing the Instagram post, and then we were like,
it's even too vulgar for our tastes.
Yes, there's some words that mightn't go down well used by Snoop, so we didn't. But he basically said that Conor brought a butter knife to a gang fight and fuck Conor McGregor, and so we've got into a little bit of hot water about the fact that he works for the UFC.
Yeah.
He does the Dana White Contender Tuesday night fights. He commentates with Uriah Faber. But like, I almost looking at it, almost like, fuck this guy coming over here. As in, he was almost slating an MMA fighter, thinking. But we put up a little poll because it's been many.
It's trending. It's
many fighters and fans are trending.
A couple of fighters that come to mind was the beautiful Alan Jouban.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And who else? Matt Brown was another one that I seen.
Yeah.
There's a couple. So fighters and fans have been kind of trending this to get him sacked. But yeah, we done a poll. You have the results there.
Results are nearly in. There's 5 more minutes. But we 112, which is a decent
pool.
Is a decent pool to go for. Oh, it's 113. Somebody must have just voted.
So what did you vote?
I'm not telling you.
Look at this. No. Do you ever watch Dave Chappelle? Do you ever watch him about talking about white guys with their political views that they won't tell you who they vote for and stuff?
Matt Brown tweeted, "I hope this idiot gets fired." Yeah. So that's pretty strong words.
What do you think? Comment down below. It's a weird one.
Yeah, it is a weird one.
It was
like, in fairness, he's like,
it was a little bit disrespectful.
Yes,
definitely.
It was
definitely disrespectful. But they're friends. I just think that's the word in bringing the butter knife to a gang fight.
Yeah, he said a few things.
It kind of sounds like, you're an MMA fighter coming to boxing.
That's
what people are getting to saying they're disrespecting the sport. So I get that. But I'm not even sure if he meant it in that way. Maybe he did. It's a weird one. I don't really watch. I watched a couple of episodes of the Contender series, but I actually didn't check out the Snoopcast. I did watch some of the highlights, and they're kind of funny. Yeah. But I do completely get what some people are saying, that he's being disrespectful. It was a little bit. But
so out of 114 votes, somebody else voted in the last minute there. A whopping 89% think that Snoop Dogg should be fired from his commentary position on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender show.
Fair enough.
You never want anyone to be seen losing their job for stuff and things like that. But like, I voted yes. It's bullshit. Do you know what I mean? When you work in a sport, you work with people. Like,
you have to.
Like, when you look at, like, for example, when you're watching his commentary and he's doing his little thing or whatever,
he's doing a shtick,
and he's doing the ring of Rosie, pocket full of posy, a tissue. Tissue, you all fall down as your man's getting the shit. It is a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
what the fuck?
A little bit. Fuck.
But you can take that with a pinch of salt. Not if you're the fighter getting knocked down and stuff, but going out and saying what he was saying about Conor, it's just stupid.
It's silly.
Let's be honest, there's a good chance, and this isn't racist, it's because he's always drinking gin and juice while commenting. He's probably pissed, he's at a Showtime event, he's probably stoned, he's at a party, he's screaming and shouting down the phone.
Talking about his mate.
I wouldn't imagine, he's friends with Floyd Mayweather, so...
it's important to point out that he says, Conor is tough and all this.
He does give him credit,
but it's...
silly. It was an
It's silly.
error of judgment, I think, is the most
very,
that could be
very
said.
silly. But that's Snoop Dogg. That's what you get with Snoop Dogg, though. To be fair, he's not like some. It's not like Brian Stan going out and be like, fuck Conor McGregor.
Brian Stan,
yeah,
hanging up the L commentary.
That's a shame. I like Brian
gloves. What I liked
commentary
about
gloves.
What I really liked about Brian Stan was he went deep with. He really went and spoke to all the fighters. Yeah. And he always said that, I was talking to Rob during the week and Rob was telling me, and he really, it wasn't trying to be, I was just trying to be, a neutral voice. But I thought he was really, he brought a different dynamic. Like, I can't remember who I was listening to who was saying this. It might have been Luke Thomas, I'm not 100%. But they were saying, Rogan's a pioneer of colour commentary and all this, and he has a certain style.
Yeah.
So, but Stan was like the evolution of it. He was a lot more fact-based with personal. He was talking to the fighters personal, and I think he'll be a big loss to the UFC commentary booth. I really do. I thought he brought something great, and I was surprised he wasn't used more than he actually was. But Brian Stan, good stuff. Just before we move on, I just want to say that Clan Wars 29 takes place this Saturday in Girdwood Hub in Belfast. Ireland's premier mixed martial arts show makes its second appearance here after a successful Clan Wars 28. The card is well matched as always, with the featured bouts of the night seeing the featherweight champion seeing the featherweight champion put the title on the line against the current bantamweight champion as Ross McCullough takes on Derek Homan. Fresh off bouts from Bama, Stevie Kilfane takes on Adam Gustap, and the forever active Alex Badui defends his flyweight title against the game challenger and Fred Elliott. They're just a couple of the fights on it. I know it's an early card. If you go on to Clan Wars MMA on Facebook, I think it kicks off early doors, so it's afternoon. No excuse if you're up that neck. Well, no excuse if you're down here. It's like an hour and a half away. Go watch some MMA. But it's going to be a stacked card as always. Clan Wars always bring it. And hey, I'll be there, and you can say, alright. And I'll go, yeah. How are you?
Yep.
You go, grand. Nice one.
That's pretty much how the conversation will play out.
That's it. Let's move along and let's hit up a legend. Let's get on the phone or the Skype machine to the Pocket Rocket, Wayne McCullough. Welcome back to Obviously Fight Talk, and if you're watching on YouTube, you will see a legend on the screen. If you're listening, you're about to find out. We are joined once again by the Pocket Rocket, Wayne McCullough. So Wayne, thanks again for taking the time to come back on to us here at Obviously Fight Talk.
No problem at all. Glad to be here.
Wayne, you were at the big show at the weekend, so first, before we delve into it, how did you find the experience in Vegas? Was it a little bit different considering the fight that it was?
It was different because, I've been at Conor's fights before and all the fans were in the arena usually singing and stuff, but this time, let's say 90% of the fans were outside because they weren't inside because of the ticket prices. Yeah. And inside was like more American people with the Irish flags, a few Irish people, but there was no singing going on during the fight, which is weird. As I say, they were all outside doing that instead because of the price of the tickets. And there was thousands of seats still vacant up at where I was, like sitting around. I was walking for Sky and I could see the whole arena. And there was thousands of tickets unsold. I thought they would have dropped the prices and let people in, but they didn't. It was more like the Academy Awards, all the celebrities there, red carpet treatment. Had the red carpet out with all the celebrities, and the real boxing fans didn't get in.
I noticed that they were doing that on the coverage. They were showing all the likes of your Jennifer Lopez and stuff, and even my wife, as she was watching comment, said there's no singing. Normally when Conor fights you'll hear the ole ole's or you'll never beat the Irish, but there didn't seem to be. But what was the actual atmosphere in Vegas like? Even though they didn't get in, was that atmosphere still there on the outside?
Yeah, well, outside it wasn't as big as his previous fights because, I say, there wasn't as many people came over. But there was still the singing going on outside of the plaza at the T-Mobile Arena. So that was still going on. But I would love to have seen the guys get in. I think Vegas just got a little bit greedy when it came to ticket sales for this fight. And I said if they would have let them in to fill the seats, it would have been the best thing ever.
What about the rest of the card? Because from watching it on TV, it seemed like the atmosphere was a little bit dead because of the delays. And before the McGregor fight, they obviously delayed it because of the pay-per-view issue. What was it like during then? There seemed to be like a 40-minute delay between the last two fights.
Yeah, well, I say that inside the arena it wasn't really filled until the main card, the main 2 fights, and then all the big high rollers and celebrities come in. But there was some good undercard fights, and I say it was pretty dead. You know, it was when Cleverly fought against Voodoo Jack. That was a good fight, and the place was empty.
Crazy.
It's unfortunate that, and then when the English girl fought, who they would call the Marshall, the Olympic girl. Yeah. She thought there was probably 2 people there. You know what I mean? So it was really dead up until the point of the last 2 fights.
And again,
and
that's when I noticed when I said this isn't the normal crowd that would be attending this, because I know when the UFC's being here or even at Conor's fights, the arena is almost full for the first card. Now I always notice that with boxing, the arena tends to fill, apart from the proper VIP seats, your normal blue collar, dare I say, your working class guy, always it's like if you're paying that type of money, you want to see every fight on the card. But moving on to the actual event itself, the spectacle, what was I just want to let you take this and go where you want with it, because I know there's been so many opinions, critical, and then some people praising what Conor done and praising what Floyd done, but what was your initial thoughts on the fight itself, how it played out?
As I say, before the fight, a lot of people were calling it a circus and not giving Conor a chance at all. But he's a world champion in a different sport, but it's still a combat sport where you're still hitting somebody. And with this fight, I said if Floyd gets old, then there could be trouble. And for me, Floyd from the first bell looked like he was old and wasn't as sharp. But say Conor, you can't take it away from Conor. He Conor come out there and took the first round off a legend like Floyd Mayweather, and you do that against a champion like that, you put a bit of fear in him. And I thought he won the first 3 rounds clear. And Floyd, for me, couldn't get off. His speed was gone, his reflexes were gone. He get hit more in this fight, I thought, than he did his whole career. You know, by a guy who's never fought a boxing fight. So you got to give Conor credit for that. And I had it up until the stoppage. I had it 5 rounds to 4 for Mayweather. So. It was close.
From a technical perspective, what did you see? Did you see anything new from Conor? A lot of people were pointing out that he was using his jab way more than he'd use it in MMA. Was there anything technically you've seen from Conor that's different from his MMA fights?
Not really, because he came out there and he had his chin up as usual in his wide stance, but I think he maybe felt different wearing a pair of boxing boots to grip the canvas with the bare feet. But I say he was hitting Floyd with a jab, which nobody can ever do. But Floyd was coming forward for the first time probably in his career. And we haven't seen that from him either. So Floyd's not used to coming forward. And Floyd tried to use the excuse afterwards that, no, he took chances coming forward, that's why he lost rounds. But I say to people, I came forward my whole career. You don't lose rounds coming forward. It's all about it slipping and blocking and rolling. But Conor, I say, was throwing. He was busier. Conor was busier. He wasn't loading up with one shot. And it looked like he didn't have the punch power as a boxer, because it's different. But he was landing combos and I say throwing 3 punches to every Floyd to 1. So it was different. And I say I would love to have taught Conor for the fight like I talked before, because he did say in the middle rounds he got fatigued, but it happens. It's like running a marathon, and you got to learn how to cope with that in a fight. And with me, everybody knows the way I fought. I fought 100 punches a round or more, and got stronger every round until the last round, so I could have taught him that.
What do you think, Wayne? Is this Conor addressed this post-fight as well, that he thinks it's something almost mental, that when he's in the 4th and 5th round, he knows it's a 12-round fight, so he knows there's so many rounds to go, and it's almost like a mental fatigue hits him. But like you, your whole career, you fought at a high pace. So what does Conor need to do to adjust, to be able to have a tanker, an engine like yourself? What does he need to do mentally and physically to not fall into that trap anymore?
Well, physically he's got to do a little bit different in the training to adjust that, and then mentally it's a mental game too. As I say, it's like a marathon runner. When they hit the wall, they got to get over the wall or fall apart. And a lot of boxers do fall apart, and Conor sort of fell apart in this fight with the conditioning part. He was just exhausted, and he was getting hit with a straight right hand from Floyd, and getting his head knocked right back. He couldn't get out of the way. And we all know Floyd's not a big puncher, but maybe with the boxing gloves on against an MMA fighter, he can be. But he was just teeing off like right hands. Wasn't throwing his left hook. or his left jabs, and he mentioned that afterwards that he hadn't sparred for the last month, so he didn't make excuses, but I think he hurt his left hand a month before. Because if you don't spar a month before, there's something going on.
And what's your thoughts?
Floyd always sparred. He always sparred. He always did spar.
And what's your thoughts on the scorecards? I'm not sure if you've seen them, but you said that you thought Conor won 3 rounds, and scorecards come out, and a lot of people are a little bit confused that the judges didn't give him, or 2 judges didn't give him the second or the third. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I give him the first 3, and then I give him another one. So it was going into the 10th to say I had 5 rounds to 4 for Floyd, and Conor thought it was close. Well, he thought it was 5 rounds to 4 for himself, but I think one judge had Floyd winning all like 9 of the or 8 of the 9 rounds or whatever.
Yeah, the only round one judge gave him was the first.
Yeah. If you can't give him the first 3 rounds, there's something wrong. No, it was clear to me. It was definitely clear that he won. The guy beside me was a journalist too. He was actually sitting and thinking he won the first 3 rounds as well. A lot of people give him the first 3 rounds and they didn't give him any more after that. Yeah. But I can't see how they can give Floyd the second or third round. I can't see that. Yeah. But then you're in Vegas, and Floyd Mayweather territory.
Yeah.
I was agreeing with you. When I was sitting at home, I was like, Jesus, Conor's 3 up here now. We had I'm not too sure if you know Eric Kelly. He's out in New York. He's a boxing coach out in New York. But Eric was saying to us, don't be surprised if Conor gets a couple of rounds, and then because Floyd will basically download everything Conor shows him, and Floyd is a 6-round fighter. From the 6th round, he then kicks in. It sort of went that way, but I think it was either the 7th or the 8th that I would have scored to Conor as well.
I think it was,
He came back. He made reference to where he had a lull, and he came back. But something I want to ask you as well, Wayne, is when we spoke to you last time, you were saying you'd reached out to the McGregor team because you had a plan or a tactic to beat Mayweather. Did they incorporate anything that you would have had in that tactic, or what would you advise Conor to have done if you were in that camp?
No, he didn't. He definitely didn't. He came out and I thought he threw a couple of body shots, but you got to be like a bit closer, not too close. Not like if Floyd came forward like he said he would do. So if Floyd said that and he did it, he's playing into your game plan. I mean, if you stood there in the centre of the ring, just hold the centre of the ring, and just touch, but be quicker, going bring the punch over the top with a lot of force behind him. And I say he kind of wasn't doing it. He was for me kind of just like throwing 4 or 5 punches, like pitter patter punches, just trying to land punches on Floyd. And say if Floyd's coming forward, he's a lot easier to hit. But Floyd coming forward still shouldn't have lost the rounds, which he did. Clearly, I thought I'd say the first 3, but he's giving rounds away, and if you give round 1 away, round 2 away, round 3 away, Floyd would panic, but he wasn't panicking. But it kind of looked like he was on his way to maybe a points win or something. But Floyd never gives rounds away. He fought over 20 world champions. He doesn't like giving rounds away. You know what I mean? So that's his style of fighting. And as I say, with Conor winning the rounds early on, it's a mind game too.
You spoke about the stoppage. You said it was a little bit early. Do you think that the fact that he was an MMA fighter, he wasn't a boxer, and they brought down the gloves from 10 ounce to 8 ounce, maybe the referee was looking at it like, okay, we need to make sure we protect these guys in here because of that decision? Or do you think that maybe the referee, doesn't matter if it was a boxer, he would have stopped it anyway?
No, Robert Bird's a good referee, but I think he was cautious, a really cautious man. For me to stop fights like real early because fighters were getting hurt and stuff. But he was getting caught with the straight right hand from Floyd over and over, and his head was being knocked back. But it looked worse because he was so tired. You know what I mean? As you said, he got tired, then he gets stronger in the 7th round again, but then he got tired again. Yeah. So it was weird the way he did that. Usually you get tired once and you go through it. But as I say, if I'm a referee, I would have given him a stand 8 count because the ropes almost held him up. If the ropes hold you up, it's usually a knockdown where they can give you the stand 8 count. If you're in the centre ring and get hurt like that, they just stop the fight. But if the ropes are holding you up, then give him the 8 count, give him another shot, and then stop it. We can all say he could have get through it or not, but he had almost like 2 minutes, and I think it would have been hard for him to get through it. But I'm with Conor. Go out in your shield. You know what I mean? You want to fight to the end, and that's what he should have got that chance.
When the coverage of it, the MMA world seemed to give it a lot more, I'd nearly say legitimate coverage, while the boxing world were more so this is they went from the opinion of, the perfect example is Carl Froch.
Yeah.
He had said he won't land the glove on him. This was Carl Froch's statement before it. He will not land the glove on Floyd Mayweather. Conor McGregor landed 111 significant shots in the fight. That's 20 plus than Pacquiao managed to land. But yet Carl Froch said after the fight he wasn't impressed with Conor McGregor. So he went from not landing a punch in the fight to landing 111, and Carl Froch was still not impressed by Conor McGregor. And Tony Bellew he sort of sided on stick to your sport, but he said that Conor's boxing was horrendous. So these were working on the Sky broadcast for people in the UK here. So the harsh words from the boxing world. Would you echo these words, or do you think that the lads need to rein it in a little and stop being so biased towards their sport?
I know Carl Froch well. I met Tony Bellew at the fight, but I know that I was up there doing a bit for Sky, but they didn't use me on fight night, and I'm happy they brought me up, really am, but I can't see why they didn't use me for the fight because of marriage.
It's insane.
Yeah,
I know Conor. I know Floyd for 20 years. I spar with him. I was the only person who was relevant. I'm not crying here. I'm just saying I'm the only person relevant to the fight, the two fighters, and they didn't use me because I think I did an interview on the Wednesday. I came up there on the Wednesday, and I gave my prediction that Floyd gets old, Conor wins the fight. Maybe I didn't go down too well, but I can't understand they're saying this is atrocious, this, that, and the other. He won rounds against a guy who was the best fighter on the planet. How can they even say that?
Yeah, it's insane.
I didn't see the broadcast or what they were saying. I'm totally lost because Conor put up a great performance.
I found Froch during the commentary, he turned very quick. I think it was as soon as the fourth round, he started going, this fight isn't going to last much longer. Here comes Floyd. And it was quite biased. Now, maybe I'm a bit defensive because he's talking about Conor, but I thought it was very biased. But I just thought it wasn't.
If I'd have been on the air with them commentating, I'd have spoke the truth, so maybe that's why they didn't want me on the air. Maybe. I think a commentator should speak the truth. Yeah. And I spoke the truth at the pre-interview they did with me, and as I say, after that on the Thursday and Friday, and I didn't even at the weigh-in, I was standing there, and Floyd comes up on the stage with the Sky TV, and if he's talking away to me, and so I don't really see why they didn't use me. I was relevant to both guys, maybe because I was going to be honest, which a broadcaster should be, because you don't want to sway people one side. The people who you sway back and forth are the ones who don't know much about boxing or MMA. And as you say, most of the people in the arena that night were them people. They probably said it was a mismatch. This guy didn't belong in the ring. Conor didn't win a round. That is a load of garbage. He put up the first. I seen Conor afterwards. He was with the bunch of the media, and I tried to get close. And I said, Conor, that was great. And he said, hey Wayne.
Oh, he was
too busy with all the fans. And I said that in front of the media guy. I said, you did great. You know what I mean? So I'm not scared to say it. I'm not because I'm married. He did what he had to do in there against a guy who was past his sell-by date, but he did what he had to do, and he looked good doing it.
Without trying to bash boxing, because you're a former boxer, you're a boxing guy, and without trying to bash Sky Sports, do you think there might have been some kind of agenda trying to, big up boxing in this one? Because they had Dan Hardy on the broadcast too. They asked him maybe one or two questions. He didn't really speak through the whole thing. They could have used yourself, who, you've trained a little bit of MMA, you know MMA, you know Conor, and you know boxing, obviously. Do you think?
For the FD.
Yeah. So do you think that maybe there was a little bit of, let's not really give Conor or MMA that light. Let's try keep it. Boxing is the sport that we cover.
I'm still trying to figure out what you just said a minute ago, because of what they said about Conor. I can't get that in my head. But I don't know. They're trying to think, boxing this, boxing that against MMA. It was a boxing fight, and you got to look at the guy. You got to look at both guys. Floyd, wasn't on his A game, but Conor's fighting in the box ring for the first time against the pound for pound best fighter of 2 years ago, and probably one of the best top 10 fighters in the world ever. And then they badmouth him again. And I'm not ditching Sky TV. I love Sky TV, of course, and Adam Smith and stuff. But I don't still understand how they can get away with that on the air.
Yeah, I will say Tony Bellew afterwards when he was saying he said that he felt Floyd could have finished that in the first, that he carried Conor through the fight, but then he also said don't be fooled though, if this was in an octagon, Floyd wouldn't get out of the first minute. So he did say that.
Yeah, but Floyd didn't carry him. He didn't carry him. Tony's a great guy. I love Tony.
Yeah,
but he didn't carry him. Floyd was. If they look at the reality of this, Floyd came out. If you can study people. For me, he looked off. He was out for 2 years. He's older. He looked off. His sharpness was gone. His distance was gone, and he was coming forward. So he was coming forward. He usually goes backwards. Then he's going to expose himself for getting hit more punches, which he did. So he couldn't have finished Conor in the first round. There's no way he could have. Didn't even come close. He got hit with that uppercut in the early rounds, and they took his head off.
Would you like to see Conor box again?
Conor? Yeah, well, they talk about Paulie.
Yeah.
I know Paulie. Conor beats Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah.
That's the truth. He beat him. And I'll be bad mouth after this, but Paulie for me was never a Floyd Mayweather style, but wasn't nowhere near as good as Floyd, of course. And he's done. You know what I mean? He's done. He wasn't in shape, as you see with Conor. At the time, he's getting hit over and over. And I think Conor would maybe hurt him.
Do you think, based on McGregor's MMA career, the way he's kind of made huge improvements fight on fight, do you think if he does fight in boxing again, we'd see a really improved boxer?
I could, yeah. It comes to me. No, Conor, the boxing part of the will help him anyway, because I think boxing and MMA is really important. If you can stay on your feet, you've got a better chance. Instead of being on, Conor's always been better on his feet in MMA.
Yeah.
He's knocked guys out on the ground. You see, he get choked out with Duffy, the guy back in the day, the Irish guy. Then, of course, with Diaz. So I think Conor's better being on his feet and being more like agile and staying away from being took down. And I say, even though Conor didn't fight a boxing fight again, I'd still like to teach him professional boxing for MMA, because I did with the UFC guys. I did some of that with them when I was working for them, and I understand the difference between boxing for MMA and boxing for boxing, and I can still teach them that for sure.
Overall, the event though, Wayne, do you think it was a winner for both Conor, Floyd, boxing and MMA? Do you think everybody won in this?
Well, I think Floyd Mayweather was the one who won the most. They said it did bigger pay per view wise than Pacquiao, and the ticket sales in the arena. There wasn't as many people there, but because of the prices, they made more money.
Yeah.
I think TMT Production, they were the ones who made the most money here and won the most. Conor was in a win-win situation from day one with the money wise, but as I say, he won because he went in there and put up a good performance, like Conor did, and most people were expecting Floyd to go out and blast him out and make him look, say, like I said the other day, blast him out in 2 rounds, drop the mic and walk away. Didn't happen, and Conor stayed in the fight. And I don't care if Conor's a professional athlete anyway, and if you put any athlete in there who's a combat sport, he still knows how to fight. No, it's like a street fight. You know how to fight. You hit somebody. That's what you do in a street fight. You try to hit them. And with boxing, you try to hit them. MMA, you try to hit them. And Conor did his proud. He did his really proud. He really did. And he fought the best fighter on the planet of 2 years ago.
This is something that I always find it's almost like in our people's nature, Wayne, when somebody is at the top and they try to do something like when you put the true process of what he's actually done. For like 4.5 years ago, Conor was on the dole. Do you know what I mean? He was unemployed, fighting out of Cage Warriors, and now he just took part in one of the biggest spectacles in combat sports of all time. But yet, I'm sure you've seen it, social media, even the boxing world, the MMA world, fellow MMA fighters are putting them down, are jeering them, are slagging them. Former opponents, Jose Aldo was putting out laughy faces when the fight ended, and these are the start. What Conor McGregor has done for young people as a role model, Like I grew up I was born in 1980, so I grew up in the 90s. Yourself and Michael Carruth were my role models growing up. Yous were the guys that we look to go, that's the pinnacle where we can be. And the young people today are growing up looking at what they can be and looking at Conor McGregor. I just find we put people down and tear them down. And we need to stop doing that and appreciate what this young man from Dublin, Crumlin, has done.
Yeah.
It's just
build them up, knock them down.
That's it. I'm
So
sure you.
See, with me is I went after the Olympics, up until the Olympics, I was unemployed too. Unemployed, and then 2 years and 5 months of turning pro. I was WBC champion of the world. You know what I mean? And Conor's same path. He was. Do you think he wants to be unemployed? No, he didn't want to be unemployed.
No.
But he's champion of the world. A couple of years, making all the money, and people should give credit for that. And that should be like a way out for some people who are struggling, and have maybe somebody who's never tried something before, like sport wise. They could say, maybe I'll try that. Maybe they're good at it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a way for them to go out and make a living instead of knocking us down. You know what I mean? And saying, oh, he's making all that money, he didn't deserve it, this, that, and the other, and what? He deserved it because he get in there and fought somebody.
Yeah.
But we have a good knack of doing that, bringing you up, knocking you down, and it's not everybody, but it's only certain groups of people who do that. It's not everybody. People say that you get fans. As you say, you were following me and Michael Carruth. You get fans throughout your career who'll always remember you no matter what. And then you get the fans who are wishy-washy who support Liverpool one week and support Man United the next week.
Yeah. Glory hunters.
Yeah.
Bandwagon fans, that's it. But listen, Wayne, it's been an absolute joy again talking to you, just getting your thoughts on the fight. I can't thank you enough again for taking the time to come on to us here.
Anytime, and you know what? Just want to say to everybody out there, Conor McGregor did the whole country proud. He really did. He fought to the end. He fought with this. He said he wanted to go out in the Shield. He fought with the Shield. He fought there. The best fighter of our time, one of the best fighters of our time, could have been top 3 best fighter of all time. Yeah. So Conor has nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody should look up and say, "Wow, I can try that too." Conor is a role model. And he's brilliant. I love him. 100%. Sorry, I love him.
100%. No,
very
that's
well
perfect.
said.
Listen,
Very
well said. Best way to finish it up. Thanks a million, Wayne. Enjoy the rest of your day, sir. Take care. Bye. There you are. The pocket rocket, Wayne McCullough. He's a role model. Conor's a role model. Gods recognise gods.
That was
Rob.
kind of beautiful.
That was
actually.
Gods recognise gods. What we're going to do is now we're going to get hit him up. The man, the myth. I hope he's not wearing a Clan Wars t-shirt.
Imagine
if he's wearing a Clan Wars t-shirt, this is going to go pear-shaped. Even if he's wearing a Bad Boy t-shirt.
Yeah. One or the other. I think the Bad Boy is probably more likely.
Let's roll the dice here and get on. We're not saying he's the best. We're just saying there's nobody better. Mr. Brendan Dorman. Welcome back to Obviously Fight Talk, and if you're watching on YouTube, you will see we're not matching this week, but if you're listening on audio, you will hear we are joined. We're not saying he's the best, we're just saying there's nobody better. Brendan Dorman, welcome back, my man.
There's always something.
No Superman shirts this week, but maybe next week we'll get back on track. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All you people who tuned in for the Marvel or DC, will it be Marvel? Will it be DC? No, it's Bad Boy. So let's delve into it.
Guys, so they have nothing on.
We won't dress it up and pretend that we didn't know there was a big fight on. The biggest fight in a long time. The crossover happened at the weekend. There is so many opinions. I thought the opinions would end on Sunday.
Yeah.
There's almost more opinions now.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the fight? Did you feel like you were looking at a unicorn standing in a field when you seen Conor McGregor enter a boxing ring? For me, it looked weird.
It did look weird.
And then the fight started. But let's get into the actual fight itself. What's your thoughts initially on the fight, Brandon?
I did a little video like in defense of Conor kind of thing today. I just titled it "Why UFC/MMA fans should be proud of Conor." I mean, how anyone wouldn't be is kind of crazy. The only thing that someone made a good point on that I just gave him kind of a nod, like good point, was that they said that they wished Conor incorporated more people in the world of boxing to help him out, rather than just sticking with Owen Roddy and Coach Kavanaugh and everything. It's game plan wise, which I think is fair. But that's it as far as critique. When I was watching it live, I was in a room full of people that didn't understand boxing completely. But when you really think about it, when it comes to like MMA, right, I feel like I constantly have to explain everything. Like the minute they're in a clinch, even standing, the minute it goes to the ground, I have to explain what a pass is. I have to explain like where that submission could come from. When I'm watching with friends, I try to like walk them through what someone's thinking, what to look for. They're dropping their right hand, the coach is calling for a 9. Like there's so much that I can call for. Everyone's kind of grown up with boxing. And the other thing is, to the point I made last week, like it's punching. Yeah. This isn't to diminish the skills of boxing. It takes a tremendous amount of skill to be a world-class boxer. And I think we all know that, right? But I think it's kind of easier for people like the layman, if you will, to understand. So, like the Mexican thing I had to explain at the end, but we might get there. What I was thinking was kind of like you... What's that?
We will get there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I want to cover that for sure. But... So, yeah, it was a little weird. Like, the entrance was a little goofy. I thought the interview backstage while he was getting his hands wrapped was a little goofy. Like, those are things we've kind of grown accustomed to not seeing. So when we see one of our biggest stars, if not our biggest star ever, really, going through the motions of the boxing circuit, if you will, or the boxing pay-per-view realm, that was a little weird. But once he got in the ring, I was like, good on him. And his aggression was good. What I was so impressed with was, like, his footwork. And what I was so mad about was the thing I've been talking about for like a month now was his stance switching. It's like, why were you doing that on the heavy bag? Like, why were you showing that to the world? Like, he had so much, he had success with it when Floyd knew it was coming. He had time to see that. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot of success there. His counter 6 when Floyd was throwing his right to the body, which, by the way, everyone was saying he'd have no idea how to defend. Right. He not only knew how to defend it, he was countering it. So he started fantastic. The judges that gave Conor only round 1, I mean, if boxing's not the most crooked sport in the history of fucking ever, I don't know what is, right? Maybe the 1909 Black Sox scandal or something, but you'd have to go back pretty far in history to see a sport like boxing is now. How could you possibly have watched round 2 and 3 and given them the flip? On what merit?
Yep.
It's not as though Conor wasn't slipping punches too. So if you're going to make the defense argument, that's null. If it's shots landed, that's null. It's like, what were you watching that I wasn't, Weren't we watching the same broadcast, I think? But so I thought Conor did fantastic, but he punched himself out, He's used to touching people and them going to sleep. There were a couple shots he landed, one being that kind of bolo uppercut where he slipped the right straight into the right hook short, but Floyd, and another thing I kind of alluded to before, he has a really good chin. It's not so much that he's elusive. He recovers well, and he takes shots well. And it's not 4-ounce gloves, and there's no kicking, and there's no setups, and it's a lot harder to get through to someone's chin without all those other variables. These are all things that I kind of said before, right? Yep. Endurance-wise, I mean, I didn't even think he'd make it 10. So in a way, that's even a win. And the stoppage is what it is. I don't think it was bad. I didn't love it. The room I was in, everyone was kind of pissed, and I understand that that sentiment, if you will, like to be like, at least let him fall. And I understand Conor being like, I'm used to, getting hit with an elbow or whatever. But in boxing, that's not so uncommon to stop a fight at that point. I don't think anyway. So my takeaways are, it kind of played out like I thought it would. Conor did better than I thought he would, though.
A lot of people.
I was amazed. I was amazed how convincingly he was winning the first few rounds.
A lot of people are pointing out what they're saying, a lack of power. That his power didn't transcend to boxing, to where Paulie Malignaggi was saying he wasn't stepping into the punches and sitting down in the punches correctly. A couple of the commentators.
Pillow hands. Paulie said that. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. What else? Yeah,
a couple of it would have been our broadcast over here. Carl Froch, Tony Bellew had said, Carl, I was talking to Wayne McCullough just before we were talking with yourself, and we were saying that Froch said at the start of this that Conor won't land the glove, to then go and land 111 significant shots, and Froch still said he wasn't impressed. He has no technique. Bellew said his technique was horrendous. And that Floyd carried Conor. Tony Bellew.
And I know the name. I can't put a face to him.
He's Scouser.
He was in Creed. Yeah. He was the villain boxer in Creed.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Fuck him.
Yeah, but they also said that Floyd carried Conor in the fight to the 10th round to make it go there. So we alluding to
physically, like he was a sack of potatoes.
Could have finished him in the first or second round. Could have finished him in the first or second round.
That's reasonable logic.
Yeah. The delay you're missing that. No, sorry, they said he could have finished him in the first or second round.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
why do that?
Yeah. So
instead, I'll get punched in the face. I could knock this guy out, but I'll tell you what. I'm going to give the fans what they want and get an uppercut in the face and then a right hook and then look a little silly for a round or two. Yeah, it's a smart game plan. Surely a guy 49-0 went in there with that intention. Maybe he'll go risky on us, Like he moved forward the whole time. Sure he did. I debunked the shit out of that already. Anywho. These people drive me fucking crazy. I wanted it to just be a boxing match, and then hopefully afterward, minus Sugar Ray Leonard of all people, right? Someone would at least. I think Andre Ward was pretty hat-tippish. He was leading to the fight. I didn't see any post-fight things from him. The point being, like, everyone from that world is so still in this mindset that I feel like our world left behind so long ago, right? Didn't we leave this all behind, the MMA versus boxing? I always said, let this be a boxing match. Let this not be MMA versus boxing. Let's certainly not make it racial, which was absurd from the get-go. Let's just let it be boxing. We'll let it play out, and the chips will fall as they may. We all knew Floyd wasn't going to put on 4-ounce gloves and all that stuff and come into the octagon and fight anyone. That's never going to happen. But for the boxing purist to say he's a caveman and he wouldn't lay a glove and he's unskilled and okay, send your best. And if you want to talk about age, have him fight GSP, which is hilarious because that would be embarrassing, or like even Yoel, right? He's 39 years old. Have your best 185er come in and fight Yoel in MMA. Give him what did Conor have, a couple months? 6 months, if that. Not even, right?
Not even when the fight was confirmed. It was like 10 weeks.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks.
Okay, so let's be generous and call it 4 months. You give him 4 months to train for MMA. Good luck with Yoel.
Yeah.
Anyone, any even near championship level boxer. And I shouldn't even have to say this, but at some point it's like I feel like I got to defend this a tad here.
I know, it's weird.
This guy came in 0-0, no professional fights against allegedly the greatest ever, and won rounds.
Yeah.
Forget when he lost, how long he lasted. He won rounds. And in my opinion, he won 3, maybe 4. So, talk about delusional fucking people. Jesus Christ. Go into a jiu-jitsu gym. Good luck. I'll meet you at Henzo's.
It's quite ironic. We were saying it earlier as well on our Quick-Fire news. It's 7 years to the day that James Toney fought Randy Couture. Quite fitting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Couple of things.
Well.
There's a couple of things.
Everyone else would do as well too.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to touch on, and just to preface before people come on the YouTube comments, we all picked Floyd Mayweather to win. This is, we picked Floyd Mayweather to win. We broke down the fight how we thought it'd go. Yeah. It went pretty well for Conor. I think it went better than we all expected, but we did think Conor would do a couple of interesting things in there. But a couple of things I want to touch on. First thing is the new things that we've seen from Conor. I think, for me, I thought the jab was really good. We didn't really see a jab in MMA because he doesn't really use it that much. He uses generally his teep kicks, is kind of straight left. Usually doesn't really set it up. He kind of sets up, puts, as you said last week, kind of puts his jab out. Doesn't really land it, but he just throws the left. But he uses jab really well and landed it.
Like as a rangefinder. But he did it against Diaz a little bit where he puts his hand like half out. And this is actually a really good trick, especially for southpaws, because they tend to like he said he likes Rigondeaux, right? Or Rigondeaux, El Chacal, whatever. Anyway. Yeah. He's a range-find jabber, southpaw. He doesn't really step in too much to his jab. Conor against Nate was doing that, and I think maybe because of the reach disadvantage or height disadvantage anyway, where he'd have his hand kind of half out, and then that way it's only so much to pronate, right? So the hand's already there. You're kind of disguising the strike. He was also doing the Roy Jones jab from low, popping up, which he couldn't. He then tried creating an angle like I would. I mean, if I was a striking coach, I would have told him to do that. Hit that pop left for your straight two, because you got to pop the chin up in order to expose it. But Floyd is is Floyd. He's a master. He's going to see these things coming. So he defended a lot of that stuff well, but some of it had really good efficacy. His counterpunching, his slipping, his footwork, the awkwardness, all the things we kind of said would happen happened. He just did them better than I thought he would do, you know?
Another thing is, I think it's important to address the gas issue. And I do personally think that we see it in MMA as well. Conor addressed, he says that he thinks he has a mental thing. We spoke about with Wayne. I do think that's there. But I also think it's important to point out that boxing cardio is entirely different than mixed martial arts cardio. I went to the shop the next day. A guy that I know, I was talking to him, he was like, why did he gas so early? And I was trying to explain that even though in MMA it looks like, and most likely you are expending a lot of more energy, especially with all the scrambles, all the clinching, but when you're comfortable in a certain situation, you know the kind of tricks of the trade, you know how to not waste as much energy in there. Conor is just not as experienced as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather knows how not to expend energy in a boxing fight. Conor just doesn't. I think that's important as well. But I do think there is something that Conor needs to work on with his cardio. Even he addressed it. But I think that's important to address, that just because you have great cardio in MMA, just like you have great cardio in cycling, doesn't mean you can go to swimming or boxing and have great cardio. It's different. It's a different type of cardio.
Yeah.
You're not comfortable in that situation.
100%. I guess he was doing cycling. That's why you referenced that, right? Wasn't he doing some cycling leading up to?
Yeah.
I heard that. I don't know how true that is. Someone put on Twitter had asked me, like, if the cardio would be different versus MMA. And I'm like, yes, but it's loaded. What I was trying to say is I don't have time to answer. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, in 140 characters, I can't address that. Basically, me, for instance, I started striking... Conor too to some extent, but I'm not going 12 rounds with Floyd Mayweather, so I'm really not making a comparison, especially when I'm out of shape as a motherfucker. But the point is, I started striking way before I started grappling. So it's way easier still for me to maintain endurance by striking, because I'm very used to being like relaxed in that setting. Like, I don't put much into it. When I'm grappling, and it's not as though I'm a white belt, but I still find myself gassing much quicker. When you roll with like a real high level black belt, you just hear the way they breathe. It's even different. You know what I mean? There's a different, we don't even have to go as crazy as a Hicks and Gracie with the yoga breathing. Just any high level black belt, they're going to do this like, it's like quick little breaths, In other words, they're controlling their diaphragm from breathing, and they're also relaxed. They're black belts. They're not worried in the guard ever, no matter who's on top. So I think it's a matter, like just to your point, I'm just using a different example, that it's just a matter of like almost muscle memory, as if, your lungs were the muscle, or your lactic acid, or all the other things that can kind of lead to someone getting tired, And the other thing is, too, with the two times we've seen Conor gas badly was Diaz, but he got punched badly. And that definitely takes the gas meter, down like Street Fighter style or video game style. And the other time was in this fight, and it was only after he started getting hit in the face. It wasn't even necessarily body shots, although there were a few. He just started taking some punishment, and then that's when his hands were dropping, and he was kind of backpedaling with a little like glaze to his eyes. So I don't know that all the road work in the world would have really prevented that. You also have fast twitch muscle guys, there's that, Yeah. So it's tough. It's tough to say, but I agree with you that it's a what are you used to thing, Exactly, pacing yourself for 5 rounds of MMA. I mean, it's 25 minutes instead of 12 times 3, right? 36 minutes. It's just a different pacing. It's a different sport. I feel like there's a couple times where he might have thought he had Floyd more hurt than he did, and he started putting a little extra on. Yeah. And that was actually allowing Floyd to slip better than when he was just throwing, at 60%, let's say, or 70% or something like that. We started amping it up to like 80. That was an issue.
There's also the little things, like, well, not even little things. It's a big thing in the grand scheme of things. It's the whole clinch situation in boxing. That any time to clinch, you clinch and you get broken up, and that's different than what he would be used to. He actually took his back a couple of times.
He worked his way to the back.
There was a lot of people saying that Floyd keeps turning his back. It's like, no, Conor was actually taking his back most of the time. Yeah. Which is kind of funny.
I was waiting for him to like put his hooks in.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of funny. I mean? But like, if that was MMA, he could have stayed there,
Yeah.
But if that was MMA, he could have stayed there and you couldn't because you just kept getting break up with the ref. And that's another thing. That's all cardio.
Connor said that as well. He noticed after a while. He almost said to himself, "What the fuck
what
am I doing taking his fucking back?" And because there was one occasion where he took us back and Floyd sort of ran off with his arse back at him, and Connor's running after him with his dick. And the referee wasn't doing it, so maybe if Connor's looking at it. Well, if the ref's not stopping it, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. I loved his hammer fists when he had them in the clinch. He was hammer fisting. That was phenomenal.
Oh, it was amazing. It was a standing hammer fists. Are amazing. Yeah. I wish we'd see more of that in an MMA, like in an MMA environment. Just hands up, hammer fist. Yeah, like standing. Yeah, it's so like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Yeah. That was hilarious to me. The part where he was going against the ropes, where Connor followed suit and took a couple of like side shots. Yeah. Basically, like one was a liver shot, and one was on the other side. That's actually legal, but it was how he got there that's a little iffy. Yeah. Because if someone turns their back to you, you're free to hit them in the sides. Yeah. Well, that's what they said. That's kind of the ref.
They said on the broadcast, Connor should be stopping here, and you're like, no, they're legal shots. There's nothing. He is landing. The Mayweather is turned and is running away. So.
Right.
But overall, your takes overall on the fight, then we can move on to what's next. What was your overall take from it? Because a lot of people are criticising Brendan and saying, he didn't show, like a lot of the boxing guys are giving out about the technique he had none and it wasn't this and Mayweather done this. But what was your overall, if someone said to you, what do you think of the fight, and just sum it up in a brief, this was it, or whatever, what was your sum up of it?
Like to the pundit geniuses out there?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're listening, pundit geniuses, you find me another person that's 0-0 in professional boxing that can go 10 rounds and win the first 3 against someone with GOAT status. In boxing, you'll never do it in MMA. We won't kid each other, okay? Handshake? All right, cool. I know none of you are coming to MMA. Tony kind of embarrassed all of you forever. Connor didn't embarrass us at all, so thank you for that. That's my thoughts on that. Connor did awesome. I'm proud of him. Everyone in Ireland should be proud of that fucking guy. Every Irish American certainly is. The guy put on a hell of a performance and did better. He far exceeded my expectations. Yeah,
beautiful.
That's my thoughts.
What's next for Conor McGregor? What do we want to see next?
MMA.
What realistically is, or what do I hope is?
No, what really, like, what do we think is next? Legitimately, what do we think is the next offering from Conor McGregor?
Well, I was surprised to see that it's Kevin Lee versus El Kakui, Tony. I think that's a great fight, though, so I'm not mad at it. I love both those fighters. I may like Khabib a little more, but I'm partial. I love Conor. I think Conor and Khabib, those are two of my top 5 fighters. I'd love to see that, but there's a lot of floating around. I don't know. To go back to boxing at this point would be a little silly. I think the UFC and the fans are gonna at some point be like, "Come on, dude! You beat Aldo, you moved up, you kind of vacated that one too. That's 2 belts in a row. From what I hear, you kind of did the same thing in Cage Warrior. So again, I love the guy, but you gotta come back home."
So do you think it's defend the title? The one that everyone keeps going to is the idea of the trilogy with Nate Diaz,
and I think it's important as well to say that Conor is. That's the only fight that Conor talks about in MMA. If you think about it, if you look at his post-fight press conference when he was saying, "Oh, I have the trilogy with Diaz there, I have titles there," there's no other names that he's mentioned. So I think it is, it's in his mind. It is there.
And the fact that Diaz was backstage with Mayweather,
I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
What do you guys think? Who would you rather see him against? Be totally honest. It could be in a neutral stadium. It could be in Vegas or whatever, New York. Khabib, the winner of Tony and Kevin Lee, or Diaz trilogy at 155, which they already said it would be if they were to fight. Which would you guys? I'm just curious.
I genuinely would like to see him defend his belt, and I think if he fights Nate Diaz, I don't think that's for a belt, because Lee and
is that 55 though? Should it not be?
No, but Lee and Ferguson are for the interim. So how can you out jump
UFC?
Yeah, just true. But no, me personally, I'd like to see him take on either the winner of Ferguson Lee. The valid point, I know you're a Khabib man, but Khabib has had his injuries issues at the minute.
Yeah, I know.
He hasn't beaten a top 10 fighter, ranked fighter. When was his last? Johnson, he murked Johnson, but Johnson's fallen down So realistically, Lee or Ferguson are the legitimate contender through being active. If Khabib,
I hate that he missed weight. I hate it.
If Khabib, but I think he missed weight because he was ill. I don't think it was just, you know what I mean. The cut didn't go well. It wasn't like he just had a dose of the shits. He's not known to miss
weight. That was odd. I feel like we got robbed.
Yeah,
you know.
But I think the big card could be Khabib and Russia.
It's a thing I'm talking about with Khabib. Like I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, because Dana said it would, so then I assume the opposite. Yeah. So if Dana says something, I go, oh, the opposite's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, whatever he says, believe what he isn't saying.
Yeah.
So if he says Conor wants to go to Russia to fight Khabib, be like, oh, they're not fighting. Yeah. Like I've always said, they're not going to fight. I don't think they'll ever fight. That's what I want to see. Yeah. I think what should be is the winner of Lee and Ferguson, right? Because that fight's not too long away. I think it's only a month away, right?
Yeah.
And also Nate what does he have, 12 career losses? Why at this point? Why? Do you have enough money, man? Like, Jesus Christ, is it just money now? I don't know. I don't care about that fight at all. I literally could care less. I
think it's more of a personal thing for both of them that neither of them likes the idea that they have one up on one another, you know? I think that's more...
That's great. Fight some other people in the interim. Yeah. You know, that happened with Matt Hughes and GSP. It happens all the time. Sometimes you got to wait to get your claws back on each other. How do you feel for DC? Yeah. We haven't brought that up yet. I want to talk about a guy that, wanted to get his hands on somebody and has been right in the butthole every time, Yeah. I don't feel bad for anybody. Let them fight real people.
Yeah. I think what I want to see is him to defend the title. I think that's definitely what I want to see. So the winner of that interim title fight is my pick. But I think most likely, Nate Diaz. That's the most likely scenario. There is a problem.
Yeah, that'll happen.
There's a little problem when coming back into the UFC because of the whole McGregor promotions. All that. He's been speaking about that for a long, long time. For him just to throw that under the rug and say, yeah, I'm going to fight under the UFC for this less amount of money, not have any ownership, that's a problem. That needs to be looked at. The second most likely, I think, is Paulie Malignaggi in boxing. I really do. That's not because I want it. I just think that's the second most likely. Well,
Dana White has said, though, he doesn't want to see Conor box again. And just with what you said with McGregor promotions, I think the UFC went out on a limb like they have for nobody else with this fight with Mayweather. So I think it's going to be we've scratched your back, so fucking tickle our feet.
Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? You thought that would happen, but I just think that the two storylines of Nate Diaz and Paulie Malignaggi are the biggest. They're probably the two biggest sellers. So I think that's the problem there. I think Khabib is last just because of the injury issues. Yeah. Although, as you said, the Russia thing could be big. Conor going to Russia against Khabib could be big, and he did speak about that before.
It would be ridiculous.
Exactly, and he did speak about that before. I just think that one, the winner of the interim title, unless somebody wins in impressive fashion and comes out and gets Conor's attention, I don't think that's going to happen.
Right, like let's say I'm not going to say which one, but let's say one or the other puts on a clinic the first round striking and submits him in the second or something like super
and then takes the
almost,
mic and then takes the mic and
calls him. You gotta
go
all right, this guy deserves a shot. You gotta give him a shot.
But I also think he needs to come on the mic and say, remember the Diaz moment?
Yeah.
Come
McGregor, you took everything out.
Exactly. You need something like that from one of those guys. I think.
I can't believe that worked. But
yeah,
anyway.
but you do. You need that moment. He wants. You can see it. He wants somebody to come out and call him out and go for it. That's what he wants. So I think. Unless one of them do that and be impressive.
Well, I think El Gakoui's for me, he says a lot on Twitter and stuff like that, and he capitalises every word.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. It must take him forever to write something. But Kevin Lee is a bit of a showman. He's a bit of a mouthpiece, and I honestly think if Lee was to beat Ferguson, it'd be a huge win from him, firstly. But I think the build-up, and let's be honest, UFC has gone very much build up now as well. You know what I mean? It's all about the show now.
Well, with Kevin Lee, you have a built-in storyline. You know where he trains, right?
Yeah, Mayweather's gym, isn't it? Yeah.
You already have a built-in storyline.
The crazy thing about that, though, I found is that he done a couple of interviews leading up to it, and he was not talking shit about boxing.
But
kind of a little bit. Yeah, he was like boxing. Fuck boxing, that's not fine.
He wasn't loyal to Floyd.
No, he wasn't.
Who is?
Yeah, true.
So it's kind of hard to be loyal to a sociopath.
Yeah. Before we leave, I know this is an MMA show, and that's why we kind of talked about Conor. But fair play to Floyd Mayweather for making those adjustments late in the rounds. Well done. 50-0. What an absolute
legend.
He's
an absolute master.
Yeah.
The only person I've seen in my life that's comparable is a prime, and I have to make that distinction, a prime Roy Jones.
Oh,
as you know, right?
Knew he was going to say.
Quiz you again? But other than that, there's been no boxer like that. And I saw Tyson, I saw Hagler late, but, I saw some greats, Sugar Ray Leonard, a little bit of Hearns and Duran, the Fab Four, but I was really, really young for that. So it was more like film. Yeah. But as far as live, I saw Tyson, but I also saw the downfall of Tyson. Yeah, Roy Jones was on that run for a good... God, don't forget, he intersected with Floyd. And there was a good 5 years where they were fighting at the same time. Floyd wasn't even a close second to Roy's one, pound for pound. So there's all kinds of interesting things. I don't know. I'm excited.
You said at the start there about Mexican. The media are now reporting that Conor was racist for calling him a Mexican. And as Rob's comment actually on was it Facebook, he said something where he said Conor calling him a Mexican is like because he's good at boxing, that style of boxing is like somebody saying a good soccer player is Brazilian. Doesn't mean it's a racist comment. It's just he plays like a Brazilian because he's good at football. But the reason why I'm coming back to this is, Bren, we got called racist last week for our show.
I know.
We got
I didn't even. I wanted to respond, but I was like, "What? Who is this dumb?"
We said
I just figured they were trolling.
I had to explain to him why they were calling us racist.
Why they even said it?
Why did they call us racist?
You made a joke about literacy.
Yeah.
Who's the racist one?
Reading and race. I see. It's like talking about unicorns and race. Yeah. It's absurd. There's no bridge.
People obviously have that thought in their mind coming into it.
Secretly racist, and it just kind of came out like verbal diarrhea,
Yeah, exactly.
I think he typed that up though as he was at a Donald Trump rally, with tiki torches and stuff. I don't know. A bit weird that he went that way.
But before we finish up, I think
you gotta live over here to get the real scoop on that. I'll tell you out there. That's all TV.
Before we finish,
I don't know any racists. I don't know any. Honestly,
I know loads.
Not in my personal life.
No, actually, no.
In America, you can't be. You get pummeled.
Yeah, it's just weird the way people jump on shit like where it's not racist whatsoever. It's just so
people are so
it's so weird.
Yeah,
it's a good example. By the way, I wanted to say on the Mexican thing, and this is kind of like the bring up I wanted to have anyway. Cool. Triple G, he adopted the Mexican style. They say, right? He went to Abel Sanchez. He's not Mexican, everyone. Just he's fighting a Mexican, but he fights with Mexican style. Yeah. Right? Meaning that it's a pressure. It's based upon like Julio Cesar Chavez and all the Mexican greats from the past. It's a very forward, pressure based. Take one on the chin, give one back. It's an aggressive boxing style. That's all that means. I turned him Mexican means that I made Floyd actually come to me rather than just counterpunch the whole fight. Yeah. He was complimenting him.
Yeah, that's a Luke Thomas said. That was a compliment. All right, that was a compliment. Yeah. That's not.
What I wanted to say there before we move on, I think the one thing we can agree that the reason why we this is gone and we're kind of happy for certain reasons is the mainstream coverage of the fight, because some of it has been just atrocious.
I actually think bad. I know we said this isn't an MMA versus boxing thing, and it should have never been built that way. It's a conflict of styles, and they're fighting under a rule set. It'd be very different if it was like the olden days. Floyd came out with his boxing gloves, and Conor came out with the MMA gloves, and it was
Art Jimerson.
Exactly, but it wasn't. It was a boxing fight, so it shouldn't have been about boxing. But I tell you one thing that MMA did win was its journalism. The journalism on the side of MMA was covering this event like what it was.
By a planetary distance.
Just analyze. You brought this up in your post today. It was that MMA people who predicted this fight were way more accurate than boxing people. Way more accurate. And that's the people who didn't pick Conor to win. Not the people who come out and say, Conor's going to knock him out in one. Those people.
I'm talking about me's of the world, the analysts, the Luke Thomas, and I don't watch all these guys. Like Jack Slack gave me a shout out recently, and another friend of mine let me know, and I was like, oh, cool. I've always liked Jack, and we got a pretty good little internet, hey, how you doing thing going on. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. But I respect that guy a ton. He kind of paved the way for the rest of us as far as YouTube breakdowns and stuff, as far as I'm concerned. Anywho, the point is the us of the world, he made the point that we don't listen to each other so much. I don't watch other people's breakdowns all that much because I don't want to get some weird idea in the back of my head and then
you don't want
all of a sudden
spout
out something that's unoriginal, right? The point is I respect the Robin Blacks and the Luke Thomases of the world, even if I don't watch all their stuff you guys keep up with. But from what I did see from literally everyone that's a journalist or someone that I take seriously in the MMA world, everyone was like, Conor could do well. Like, they were just being non-biased, really.
Yeah, exactly.
The Conor's going to win in 16 seconds. Those were like internet trolls.
Yeah.
Like, no one to be taken seriously was even saying that. But the boxing world, Max Kellerman again, who I respect the guy a ton. He's very smart. But to say he's not going to land a glove, like, what are you saying today, buddy?
Yeah.
That he landed gloves, but they sucked.
Yeah.
He didn't turn his punches over, Paulie, when your head was knocked back in your face. You know, Paulie's got some serious balls. I wish he'd grow out his Guido haircut so I could make fun of that again. Mr. Jersey Shore snitch weasel.
One thing I think is pretty funny is that Max Kellerman still hasn't tweeted. Max Kellerman still hasn't tweeted.
Who?
Max Kellerman.
No?
No. It's kind of funny. But yeah, on the whole boxing MMA thing, I wish it didn't turn into that, but I think the end of the Sky Sports broadcast, literally kind of the last words that were said, I'm not sure if you noticed it, was Johnny Nelson, the former boxer, turned to Dan Hardy and goes, so this means that we can beat you up, right? And then Dan was like, oh, well, let's introduce kicks. So it was kind of a little dig, a final little dig to, you know.
Dan said, let's introduce kicks. Did he say it like... Hopefully it was a little, like, affirmative.
It was kind of laughing, but, like, it was, you know... I just thought it was funny that people... Dan
Hardy actually came across pretty well.
Yeah. Dan Hardy would have fucked that guy's world up in seconds, motherfucker. That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
You don't know. If you don't know, don't speak on it. I've been in a boxing ring. Have you been on a mat? You know what I mean? If not, shut the fuck up. Please.
But I thought...
It's ridiculous. People are talking so out of school. It's absurd to me.
Overall, anyway. I thought it was a success. Overall, I think Conor McGregor painted the MMA world in a great light. Yeah. He carried the MMA flag and he represented it brilliantly. Not only did he carry the tricolour, but he carried the hopes of MMA world with him as well, and he represented himself brilliantly. In defeat, his post-conference comments were, again, almost reminiscent of when he lost to Diaz. They were fully respectful for his opponent. He spoke highly of his opponent, and I'm telling you now, this guy is a superb role model for all fighters, win or lose. He's brash when he's victorious, but he's humble in victory and in defeat.
And on the boxing side, I think that...
He's always said that, too.
Yeah, the fact that Floyd came out...
Right, he's not lying.
The fact that Floyd came out and, you know, he didn't come forward for the whole fight, but at the end he did come forward and he got the knockout. So on the boxing side, I think they're going to be happy that Floyd actually gave them an entertaining scrap this time, and he didn't just take their money and take a decision. So I think that's something too.
Good stuff. No, that's it. I'm happy with that. Brendan, absolute pleasure, me man.
Pleasure.
As always, mon frères.
Where can we find you? Or people find you?
You can find me at Brendan Dorman, BrendanDorman on Instagram, Twitter. My Facebook ends in Brendan Dorman MMA, as does my YouTube channel. Everyone, get over on my YouTube. I'm getting like 10 messages a day, either privately or publicly, that people are becoming unsubscribed. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to keep my tinfoil hat off for now, but just make sure you're subscribed to my channel. If you don't know, just make sure. I'm putting up a lot of videos lately, so you're missing out if not. You know, I'm trying to educate the world.
Great stuff, man. And next week we'll probably get to talk about MMA. Hey! Enjoy our week, my man. Pleasure as always.
Always a pleasure.
Cheers, Thank you, sir.
Bye.
It's great. I love chatting with Brent. I just love it. He's getting wound up. I love that. He's getting fucking asshole. Like, love it. Right, we're going to move on, and we're going to still talk a little Mayweather, because Darren Russell was there, so we can talk to him a little bit more what he's seen, and was it similar to what Wayne had seen with the atmosphere, stuff like that. So let's hit Darren up, and we're going to be joined by the gentleman Daniel Movahedi as well. Rob's doing something.
Jon Jones coming up.
So welcome back to, obviously, Fight Talk, and if you're watching on the telly or your phone, and you're seeing on YouTube, you'll see there's two gentlemen on your screen, and if you're listening, I'm going to tell you who they are now. So we're joined by the holiday destination looking trimmed Daniel Movahedi.
Yo.
That's not him, the screen's flicked. And MMA latest Darren Russell as well. So thanks, lads, for taking the time to come on.
No problem. No problem at all.
Yeah, the lads are getting used to this. Look, 2 times, yeah. Darren, I'm going to hit you up first with a question because you're just back. Anyone would guess by looking at the T-shirt you're wearing, the Zuffa boxing. Just back from Vegas. We were talking to Wayne McCullough earlier, and he said it was a little different to normal Conor McGregor fights in Vegas. As he said, it seemed the normal fan was priced out. Did you find that? Would you share that sentiment?
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was odd, having been to a couple of Conor fights. Normally the crowd is hugely Irish in favour, and it still was for a boxing match, hugely in Conor's favour, but the majority of the fans in Vegas were priced out, and even priced out watching it in a bar. It was starting at about $150 to just sit and watch it in a bar somewhere, which was just crazy. But there was a lot of Irish around Vegas, but you couldn't tell as much on fight night. And the arena itself, really struggled capacity-wise. At one point, I think when Conor walked out, it only looked like there were about 12,000 in there. Wow. Everyone just seemed to shuffle forward. Yeah. I ended up about 9 rows further down, which was great.
Yeah. And just with we can lead into the fight a little bit because we want to get to Dan's opinion as well. What was your reaction to the fight? There's been the opinion is huge. Different from the boxing world. I don't know if you've watched it back on Sky over here, but I've said it's a good few times now in today's episode. But poor Carl Froch's going to batter me if he ever sees me. But Froch was insanely biased and basically went from wouldn't land the glove to wasn't impressed with Conor, even though he landed 111 shots. Then not on air, it must be said, it was a post-fight interview. Tony Bellew had said that Conor's striking looked horrendous. And obviously he's an MMA fighter and he'd kill Floyd if it was in an MMA fight, but today he felt that Floyd carried him through the fight. Would you echo any of them sentiments, or do you just think these are biased towards boxing?
I thought I haven't heard back from the commentary, but I heard a lot of people commenting on Carl Froch's basically what he said, and he was on our flight home, funnily enough, today, and he was pretty sheepish in the airport. Yeah. I think would be the best way to describe it. But I haven't watched the fight back, but I at least definitely scored the first 3 rounds for Conor, and possibly the 8th. I think the 8th could have gone either way, but how the judges scored it 9-1, I think it was, or 8-1 in favour of Floyd Mayweather was absolutely ludicrous. And like you say, they all said he's not going to land a punch, he's not going to win a round. But he did both multiple times, yet you still can't sit and give him any credit, which is just bizarre. Yeah, I really couldn't understand it afterwards. Boxing fans, boxing pundits, but the majority of actual boxers seem to give him some credit, like to Klitschko and even Manny Pacquiao. Those people give him quite a bit of credit, which was kind of nice to see after sort of a rough time he's had.
And what was the crowd mixture like? Because I seen a couple of videos of the headline and Irish fan pushes Mayweather fan, and they were just having a chat and he's going, go on out of that. And that's literally what it was. And like, oh my God, mate, talk about clickbait. I fell hook, line and sink for that. But what was the mixture like between the two fans, Mayweather and McGregor fans? Was it all friendly, and after the event, as well?
Yeah, it's always... The Irish fans don't carry a bad reputation for being, fighters or anything like that. Literally at all. I think a lot of people sort of assume they're going to be like that for some bizarre reason, because boxing tends to be a bit more rough in those exchanges. The Mayweather fans maybe were overstepping the line a bit, but the Irish were just taking it in jest, and you could see even after the loss, they were just bouncing around the hotel, cheering and dancing, no care in the world. The fight result didn't matter to them, and I think the Mayweather fans kind of overstepped the mark a little bit after the fight. They were going around cheering, you Irish will do nothing, blah, blah, blah. And they were kind of getting a little bit arrogant about it all. You've been shutting your mouth off all week, and now, look, you're all quiet, when really they're bouncing all over the ground floor of the MGM.
The fight itself, Dan, have you swallowed that sup of beer? You all right?
Yes, I have. All right. Thanks. Not alcoholic as well, just so you know.
The fight itself, Dan, a lot of people, and Conor himself, questioned the stoppage. As a referee, did you have any objections to the stoppage, or what were your thoughts on it?
Bearing in mind we were watching it at 5 o'clock in the morning here.
Yeah.
So a bit sleepy-eyed. I thought it was, some people say it was an early stoppage. But don't forget, this is an MMA, and they don't in boxing unified rules. They don't have standing 8 counts. So only thing I would have said was if I don't know if Conor was aware of this, maybe he wasn't. Should have just taken a knee if he wanted to count, and he would have got a count. So if he put a knee down or put a hand down on the canvas, and he would have got the count. But no, I think it wasn't bad. But we all know Conor's in his head mostly thinking, and most MMA fans are going, look, he wears MMA gloves, he fights with MMA gloves, and he takes punches with MMA gloves. So boxing gloves are really not going to do much. But putting my referee head on, and if that was me, possibly I could have. Yeah, I think it was a good stoppage. On the reason being, you take all the other things into account. He was starting to gas. He looked a bit tired. His legs were starting to give away a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's that fighter mentality of, look, he should have knocked me out and knocked me down. But again, a lot of people going, why didn't he give him a count? In unified boxing rules, they don't do standing 8 counts.
I tell you could have, because Wayne was saying falling against the ropes. He the referee could have given a standing count because he would have went down if that was the centre of the ring. In the stadium itself, Darren, what was the reaction with the stoppage? Did people think it was early, or were you happy enough with it?
I think there was a bit of a mix on it. Myself, initially, I thought it was slightly early. Maybe could have given him more of an opportunity, but like Dan said, bringing him to the account the boxing rules over MMA. If it would have been stopped in a cage, there would have been an absolute uproar. But I found it kind of key in the first. I think when he started to gas a bit in around the 6th and 7th, he was still like circling out of the corners and circling off the ropes. And once it got to 8 and 9, he sort of stopped circling and stopped moving his head and stopped moving his feet. So I could sort of see why the referee would stop it at that point.
I think the problem was that he wasn't thrown back either. Yeah. I think if he threw 1 or 2 shots, they probably would have kept going. But because he was just completely on the defence, I didn't have a huge problem with it. I do think it could have went a little bit longer, but it's not like it's a disgrace that it got stopped. It was fine. It was okay.
But Luke Thomas brought up, I was listening to Luke Thomas, I don't know if you listened to it, or even if you noticed it, or it was something that jumped out at you, Dan, just from your eye of a referee. Questioned the referee's position a lot in the fight. Felt he was out of position for a lot of the things where the clinch was happening. He was out of position where you didn't see the likes of Conor taking his back, essentially, where he could have stopped these things by being in a better position. Did that stand out to you, Dan, at all, the referee's position during the fight?
Yeah, it did. But at the beginning of the fight, he did say, look, I don't want to get stuck in, didn't he? Or something along those lines. I'm not going to get stuck in. You listen to me. When I say break, you break. When I say stop, you stop, etc. So maybe he was just hoping that when he says stop, you stop, which they did. But then the thing that I found a bit unusual was that when he brought both fighters to the middle, when he was giving his instructions, and he was saying, look, I want a clean fight, this is a boxing fight. He was directing all the rules and all the instructions to Conor.
He was staring at him. He was staring him down.
That kind of peeved me off a little bit as a fan. I was like, oh, come on, man, give the guy some credit, But then, saying that, every time Mayweather was turning his back, Conor didn't stop throwing shots until the ref said stop. Yeah. And I could see a couple of people going, oh, look, he's taking a cheap shot at Mayweather. No. I mean, certainly in MMA and in my rules talk, you don't stop until the ref says stop. That fighter turns to choose his back, by all means, Conor can carry on hitting the body shots, try to hit the head, etc. And then, you saw the referee giving warning to actual Mayweather and saying, look, you're the one turning your back, buddy. Not, Conor's not causing that foul. You are by turning your back. So I thought the referee was good. I thought the position, I could see what he's saying. But I think the referee was relying on his actual vocal commands to when he said stop, for Conor to stop, etc. But I could see where he's coming from.
Just one, was it worth it? Do you think it was worth the juice, was worth the squeeze for all the promotion that it was? Did you enjoy the event? Especially Darren, you went to it, so was the juice worth the squeeze? Was it enjoyable? Was it something different?
It's something I touched on it beforehand. It's something in years' time. It was I was there moment, rather than you weren't expecting a thriller in Manila fight where you were expecting blood all over the canvas and that type of stuff. It was more I was there type of moment. Vegas itself was incredible, which it always is for MMA events, Conor McGregor fights, anything. It's an incredible place. I think a lot of people were priced out of tickets, which was a shame to see. And I think I'm surprised McGregor hasn't commented on it. Maybe he will comment on it, that a lot of the Irish fans were priced out. But it would have been nice to see the arena a bit more filled with the Irish flag as such. But they were still loud enough.
Dan, what do you think was worth it?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first. I'll be, hands out. That's the first time I've actually paid for a pay-per-view. Put it that way. One, it was at a reasonable price over here. $19.95, and you could watch it on your iPad or your iPhone and I didn't have to be a Sky member, which I'm not sure. And one of you three can correct me. Is it the first time ever that they've allowed? Because usually when you have to buy a pay-per-view, you have to have Sky subscription, which this time you didn't. You just put in your email details and your card details, downloaded the app, and you got to see and watch it in your luxury of your own home, wherever, in my case, was in bed. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. I just Jack and Cass, my two boys, have asked to watch it tonight because they weren't up to watch it. So again, I can go and watch the show, the replays, etc. I thought it was good, and like you guys are saying, it's something that you can go look in years' time, especially if you were there in person, which was fantastic on your part. Is to go, you was there and you did witness history. Something was done for both sports. And I think that's what people need to understand. It got attention for both sports, boxing and MMA. And Chris Eubank, I thought, put it nicely. It wasn't a boxing fight; it was a fight. That's all it was: entertainment and fight, and that is it. I thought it was fantastic. And me for one, I really enjoyed it.
So to slide in a beautiful segue here, something that everybody seems to have said was great for the sports and great for the sports, both sports respectively. One thing that wasn't great for the sport happened last week. A lot of people, when he was back and defeated Daniel Cormier, thought Jon Jones is back.
He's turned the corner.
And they're like, this is it. Back. We're going to see the Jon Jones we all want to see. He's living a clean life. He's doing all this. We lived in this fairy tale for how long?
A couple of days.
Popped, steroids, done. Was it a coincidence that it was fight week of the biggest week, tinfoil hat moment? Was the timing? Could the timing
give the
not
disclaimer
been worse?
Before we kill him?
Yes, by the way,
disclaimer.
He has tested in his first sample, so we have to wait for the
preliminary
sample. So we have to wait for the B sample to come back to say yes.
Yeah, so
he would piss through a hot cup. So what did we think? First of all, I was getting into bed, and I don't know what you guys do. Just before I'm getting into bed, I always say, "Has that happened?" News-wise, and boom, well, fuck, I'm up for another hour, haven't I? Tweeting and fucking texting. Well, I just couldn't believe it. For me, I was like, "Fuck, man! Like, what a waste of talent this man is, and what an idiot." That was my initial thoughts of it, and then my second thoughts were, "Poor fucking Daniel Cormier."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Daniel Cormier fought his ass off. He's a clean athlete. He's never never failed a drugs test or even had any question of it for him. And he goes in and he said it all the way. You're on steroids. You're on steroids. You're on steroids. Jon Jones, even that tweet to come back to haunt you. What are you going to say when I beat you and I'm not on steroids? And now, so what was your initial reaction to it? I seem to be getting annoyed by it again. But what was your thoughts when you first seen the news?
I was more upset the fact that you had to read it just before you went to bed and you was up for another 2 hours texting us all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My initial thought, and still is, to be honest, I'll be absolutely honest with you, I haven't really followed the story because it's summer holidays, been spending time with family, etc. But I really hope there's something. I think the best case scenario for me would be, hey, something in his supplements that he's been taking.
Yeah, that's what they're calling for.
But then on I think we've discussed this many times that USADA have got a site or a system where you can send your supplements in, they'll test it for you, etc., to see if anything's in there shouldn't be in there. And him, for one, should have done that if it is the case. But until, like you said, a second sample comes through, we don't know what's what. There's been rumours of, I don't know, someone setting him up or, it's the wrong sample. I don't know. To be honest, I think you guys have a better idea because you've been following the story. But from what I've been hearing on social media here and there, it's definitely not a good look. And from what Dana White was saying, but I think we'll hear more of it this week now the McGregor-Mayweather fight's over. I'm sure more people will be posing questions to the UFC and to Dana White to see his thoughts exactly on it.
Yeah, I think I don't think Turinabol must have been Googled as many times as Jon Jones. You know, they said it was a drug used by, I think it was East Germany in the Olympics in the 70s.
Yeah.
And the thing that doesn't make sense of it is it's not said to, instantly benefit you. So why would he take it? I think it was the night before the weigh-ins, they think, or on the night of the weigh-ins. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm kind of done feeling sorry for him in a way. Give him chance after chance after chance. And of course, he's still got the B sample to come back, but it's 99.99%, that he's going to test positive. And it's just such a shame. And, Daniel Cormier, like you say, has just been through the mill with Jon Jones over and over and over again. And the poor guy now, has two losses in his career. And everything else he's been through aside of that with UFC 200 and all that. I just felt awful for him. But, it's just a shame because you thought he'd go on to dominate the heavyweight division, Jones. And, I think Dana White was just gutted. That's his biggest star aside from Conor McGregor. And there's still the doubt over will McGregor come back, will he fight again? He was kind of coy on it after the fight. He wasn't committing to, I'll fight. In December, I'll fight in January. He kept his options open. I think Dana White would have been more gutted that, that big star was kind of lost.
Yeah, it's a very weird one. Like, if it comes out that it is a tainted supplement, which, is possible, it has happened in the past.
What supplement company is putting Turinabol in there?
It happened to Yoel Romero. He tested positive as well. So it is possible. And the other one, as you said, is the weird timeline, because apparently this only stays in your system for like 2 days or 3 days. So the timeline, I had to have taken it between his previous drug test and then that pre-fight drug test. So, or the post, whatever it was. But that's insane. If he took it between that time, what was he thinking? That's a mental thing. That's maybe he doesn't have confidence in himself. Maybe it's something like that. But it's just a very strange one, especially if he did take it and he took it in that time frame. What was he thinking? Like, what was he thinking?
My favourite bit out of all this was Chael Sonnen said when he was fighting Jon Jones, he had more juice concentrate than a bottle of Tropicana in himself. And when he was wrestling Jones, he thought, whatever I'm on, this guy's on better stuff. So, like, that's Chael Sonnen true and true.
And then all the old stories come up. Remember Sonnen's old story on the Joe Rogan podcast where he said that Jones hid under the octagon for like 3 hours before the drug testers left. So, like, that's all coming back now. It's
just the thing about this will do though. It's like Gatton. It's going to throw a shadow over his whole career.
Yeah.
So I know myself, and you said it down there. You're fed up giving him chances. I'm the same. Like I used to. Remember me when we first started this show? I was like, fuck Jon Jones.
Yeah.
And then when he started, became the heel a little bit. I thought, well, at least he's embracing it. Let's get behind. And like, he was my header on Twitter for a few weeks. Like, the picture of him like that, and I thought, Jon Jones is back. He's looking good. And then you hear this, and you just go, fuck, man. His whole career is in doubt.
You just can't give him the benefit of the doubt anymore.
And like, what I was watching, I'm sure he's watched it as well, or you might have been attending it. There was Ariel Helwani was talking to Stephan Bonner and Phil Baroni. And Phil Baroni, like, what does Jon Jones need to do? And he's like, go to Japan, fight in Japan, take as much steroids as you want and become a superhero over there. And in a way, that's the thing. He made
Uber John.
And this is the thing. As much as we're talking about Jon Jones, but I sort of wanted to talk about the whole USADA effect and everything that has come with that. And what I mean by that is Baroni on that same chat with Ariel Helwani made a point where he said, remember when all the Pride fighters came over to the UFC and they were all dropping losses and stuff? And he was saying that happened because all the guys coming from Pride thought they couldn't take supplements or take their they couldn't juice anymore, so they stopped juicing. Little did they know that the whole UFC roster was juicing, so they were coming down off the juice, and the lads were beating them because they were juiced to the gills. So I know he's sort of saying that in a little bit of a throwaway, but at the same time, it could be like there's facts there to, you know what I mean? There's looking at the fighters. Like, since USADA came in, I think USADA are with them since June 2015. I think that's when USADA first started coming in. Yeah. Look at the superstars that have been popped. Like, even the thoughts of Lesnar was coming back and then he's popped. Do you know what I mean? Like that, like, it's just Jon Jones on the now. I think it's Jon Jones. Technically, is only his second time, although it's his third one because of the old sniff.
Yeah.
But the amount of fighters have been like this is. I don't know. Have you watched Icarus on Netflix?
No, that's on my list to watch this week.
Definitely check it out, because the whole thing about what's it called, Trobonaut, whatever it is, right? Is that there is masking. There's masking drugs though that you can take to mask when you're taking these things, and that's what the whole Icarus is a little bit about. It's this Russian doc. I'm going to spoil it for you all, but no, he's the Russian chemist that looks after the Russian team and stuff like that, and they could take certain things because they knew how much you could wash it out and what they could change and how they change all the science. But then they're also dirty. They were going in and stealing the samples and going in tunnels and shit. Like, watch it, it's amazing. But so that's the thing, is that like Jon Jones, a lot of people were questioning him, and again, like look at Vitor Belfort, another one that look at his body difference.
Yeah,
as soon as you take Jesus off your shorts, you turn into an old saggy man. When you have Jesus on your shorts, you're ripped. Do you know what I mean? But the amount of fighters
who let Cole Dorman back in the building?
No, but JDS was popped as well. Now they're looking at that, aren't they? He's popped as well. Yeah. Bigfoot was popped. Do you know what I mean? Look, the amount of fighters you can, and we don't have them wrote down or anything. I'm just thinking out loud as I'm gabbling here. But this is a problem. What is the answer? Everyone thought USADA was going to be the answer, but the answer's clearly not there yet. So what needs to be done? Like this, surely. Should criminal offences come into this? If you're getting into a cage on steroids, like Brock Lesnar failed his post-fight, so that man, when he fought Mark Hunt, he was juiced to the absolute gills. Should he not face criminal charges?
I think it's important to know that in sports, in any competitive sports, there's gonna be doping. It's just gonna happen. It's in
very
all of it.
Than fighting,
but it's just gonna happen. People are gonna try to cut corners, no matter what penalty you get. When you have two guys going in there, especially when you have like win bonuses and stuff like that, these guys are gonna try cheat. It's gonna happen. Doesn't matter what the penalties are. Now you can reduce that, and that's what they're trying to do. Maybe this is the answer, and it's still early. It's still early in the sports.
It's still years in the running.
But it's still early though. But it's just always going to happen. There's going to be doping in all sports. You're not going to fully get rid of doping. It's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen.
But what's the
thing is, as much as you're going to try to get rid of it, there's always someone there, and I'm sure, like you said in the documentary, there's someone there working on how to master these stuff, whether it be oral intake or injections or whatever it may be. There's always someone there to make that next step ahead, and obviously you said they were playing a catch-up game, aren't they?
But that's the thing.
The catch-up game of okay, shit, we need to work out what they're taking, how they're testing it. I think they keep their samples for over 10 years or whatever it is. They can always go back and test them. Yeah. I don't think you would ever eliminate it, and I don't think criminal offence might be going a tad bit too far, but.
Why though?
Maybe harder bans. Maybe look, your career's over, done. See you later. We've given you 1 strike, 2 strike. See you later. You're done. You're finished. And and today we're in a situation where MMA, especially if you find a UFC, Bellator, them kind of organisations, you can make a living off that. That's your living. That's your sole job. So someone fires you from your job and you can't go anywhere else to make that kind of money. You're done for. You might have to think twice about that.
Yeah.
I think a key thing that MMA can learn is look at like Justin Gatlin in athletics. Serial offender. He's failed 3 times. Everyone uproars the fact he went and won the gold medal, but that's not his fault. That's the sport's fault for still allowing him to compete. Yeah. And I think you can see USADA in 2 different ways. It either ruins fights, or it's taking out the cheats of the game. Like Ngannou dos Santos, was kind of one of the fights I was looking forward to. Well, just Ngannou versus anyone, really. But I think fans are kind of split on it as well with, is it working? I don't know, really. It's kind of, it's going to take time to see how everything pans out. Like, it didn't work out with the Yoel Romero type of thing, but people are still convinced, that he's taking steroids, etc.
The thing is, the difference is though, even if he is, so I'm not saying he is, surely he must have that. Whoever he is, they've got someone there to help him And they must have the highest level person to go, okay, well, this is what you take, this is how you do it.
Dan seems to have experience in this.
Whereas if it is true that Jon Jones took something in between his weigh-ins and the fight or post-fight or whatever it is, maybe he just thought, maybe someone could have turned around to him, even he thought, oh, fuck it, they're not going to come and test me after this. They've tested me all the way through my camp to here. We're here now, we're fighting. Fuck it, let's see what happens. Maybe I'm not going to get tested anymore. And you know, wherever he's taken has shown up, you know. So, yeah.
Without the risk of bringing up the death penalty, I'm coming to a point. The whole thing of making the bans really, really harsh is that's definitely legitimate. But then you have the cases like Nick Diaz, who
smoked a bit of pot.
So what I mean is, if you're going to make the bans really, really harsh, it really, really needs to be correct. You need to make sure you're correct in the science of it, and then correct in how you enforce it. Because if he almost got a lifetime ban for what he did, and everybody disagrees with that, apart from the couple of people on that commission. So I think it needs to be really, really correct before you bring in really, really harsh bans.
The reason why I'm saying criminal is, right, is because it's very different to cycling. If me and you are cycling in a race and I've taken loads of drugs and I just cycle around the track faster than you, whatever, right? But if we're getting into a cage and I'm punching you, elbowing you,
that's
kicking
why Mark
you,
Hunt is suing the UFC and Brock Lesnar.
That's a different level of...
It depends, though. I'm a bit up and down from that. You could have a small guy who looks like a string of piss and still can, is taking something to help him recover, not necessarily make him punch harder or kick harder. It's helped him recover quicker, So I get both sides of that. The other suggestion I would like to make, I know it sounds really stupid, but maybe actually sit down the fighters, these meetings they have with the UFC when they bring all the athletes in and they have a big meeting and talk about banned substances and all that. Actually, maybe show the effects what it's having on your body, the stuff that 10 years down the line could do to you. Like
limp dick. That's what that told me.
Like the likes of Mark Kerr, who was abused and he admittedly abused, his steroid intakes. And look at him now, I think he's got a failed liver problem, and his career ended. Maybe just like you put on a cigarette package, bad lungs, bad heart, etc. Show him what his anabolic steroids or whatever it is they're taking, supplements, the effects it could have 5-10 years down the line. Yes, you get the benefits now, but 10 years down the line, this is what you're going to end up like. I don't know. Maybe that's the solution.
The one thing, Dan, you mentioned Carl Dorman earlier, and I'm going to echo a sentiment that Carl has said on this loads of times. Why don't USADA bring out their own supplements that if you're a UFC fighter, you use the USADA supplements? And that way, no tainted supplements.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
It's a great idea, but then you have
bit of cash for USADA.
Yeah, then you have the people coming out saying, "Oh, look at USADA selling their products." You know what I mean? It's going to happen.
I don't know.
But there's always going to be someone else.
There's always going to be somebody.
I've found something better than the USADA product, so they're going to go to that market and go and get it. It's just catch-22, man.
Yeah,
perfect.
I think Dan's nailed it on the head with how educated are people on the subject, and maybe not USADA selling products, but USADA approved products as such. Yeah. And then if someone tests positive for those, then you can actually go back and look at the product. But I think rather than any criminal charges or all that, maybe severe penalties where you're talking like 50 to 75% of your fight purse, and that goes to your opponent just as you would if you missed weight. I think that would definitely make Mark Hunt would be a very rich man in that case.
He'd be happy,
it's a problem. I think that it has to be resolved, it has to be looked at, and the one thing that I recommend it to anybody listening, we're having quite I wouldn't say a silly conversation. We're not going into facts really in what we're saying. We're just giving our genuine opinion on it. But I honestly would say go and watch that Icarus for doping. It's actually it's incredibly insightful. How sneaky the Russians are, my God. But apart from that, just to see the levels that they actually go to enhance their athletes is just absolutely insane. Gentlemen, next week we're going to be talking about MMA because we've got a show on next week, so I'm looking forward to this week coming, I should say. So Monday we could be recapping MMA, which is going to be great.
It's going to be weird, isn't it?
Yeah, but for the moment that's going to wrap up 78 for us. So Darren Russell from Sportsman and MMA Latest, thanks for taking the time to come on to us, my man. I'm glad to see you're home safe and sound from Vegas.
It's nice to be out. It'll be nice to get some sleep tonight, definitely.
jet lag. I don't feel sorry for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Anyone? It was like me when I came out on holidays. Oh, I'm knackered. Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. You're back from Vegas watching Mayweather-McGregor, for God's sake. I don't feel sympathy for your lack of sleep whatsoever. Movahedi sitting on the fence in the middle of his living room there.
That's the one. Thanks.
Hope the boys enjoy the fight. And they're not too let down. Do they know the result?
No, I haven't told.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent stuff. Well, I hope they enjoy it. Enjoy your bank holiday Monday, gentlemen, as it is the bank holiday of which is there. But thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Talk to you again, lads. Take care. Thanks a million.
Cheers, lads.
Have a good evening.
Cheers, guys. So there you are. That's the Sportsman and MMA latest, Darren Russell, and the gentleman himself, Daniel Movahedi. You know Dan from being on here regular times. Rob, that was a pretty packed show, my man.
Packed show.
We'd like to big shout out and thank you to the Pocket Rocket, Wayne McCullough, for coming on, the great Brendan Dorman for coming on, the two lads there, as we just said, Darren and Dan. Thanks a million. And Rob, thank you.
And thank you. And before you leave, subscribe.
And subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And thanks a million. Last week's episode, folks, you have probably turned off by now, so we can remember.
Exactly.
Last week's episode absolutely blew up for us. It was Maymac. We got a lot of great feedback from the show.
Yeah.
We've done plus 30,000 views, which was hugely impressive for us. Yeah. We put a lot of time.
Feedback on that one.
Yeah, we put a lot of time and effort into this show, and we just do it for the love of MMA and
no money, unfortunately,
and just talking. But we do want to give a shout out as well to the people who've been with us there from a lot of them from the start.
Yeah.
A lot from the start is MMAmix.com. They're obviously good because they will obviously fight talk to Fight Star Ireland, the Fighter's Choice, everything you need under one roof. And like I said at the top of the show, go check out the YouTube channel for both, and for Fight Star Media, if you want to check out local fights, they're at every Muay Thai MMA show here. To feelsupreme.co.uk for all your recovery needs, the likes of your CBD oil and all organic products. Check them out and use the promo code at the end, Fight Talk, and that'll get you 10% off your purchase. So, Rob, it's been a weird week. We spoke about this. This went from it was never going to happen to it's scheduled. Well, it still happened, and it happened at the weekend. It didn't turn out to be the circus that a lot of people thought it was going to be. It was a legitimate fight. As you said, we are an MMA podcast. You have to congratulate Floyd Mayweather. He adjusted his game. He done what he done and he got the finish. But we have to tip our hat here. Obviously, we're biased. And as the guy said on our comment section last week, if you didn't have McGregor, you wouldn't have a YouTube channel. Anybody can have a YouTube channel.
It's very easy. Try it.
But a big shout out to Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
He's put this little island of ours on the map, and he's opened the doors for a lot of the young prospects. And believe you me, that's a weird one to say, but believe you me, there is a lot of talent in this country, and Conor McGregor has paved the way, along with your Ashley Dailies, your Paddy Hoolans, your Carl Pendreds, your Neil Series, Paul Redmond, all these guys. These have paved the way for the younger guys to get to that top-notch area, that is the UFC. You have James Gallagher, who's on the threshold here with Bellator. This country has serious talent. We're delighted to cover and talk about this serious talent, along with world fighting as well that we do. Just thanks for listening, and subscribe and check us out next week. But this has been 78. Palin.
O'Keefe.
Good night.